One of the most famous of these was the German cruiser Graf Spee. Commissioned in January 1936, she displaced 12,000 tons, making her the largest cruiser built up to that time. The Graf Spee's immense weight was due to her impressive arsenal of weapons, which ranged from torpedoes to 6 11-inch guns that could hurl 670-pound shells a distance of 17 miles. This lethal firepower prompted some to refer to the Graf Spee and her two sister ships as pocket battleships. But the Graf Spee was every bit a cruiser. With her relatively thin 4-inch side armor and state-of-the-art diesel engines, she could reach a speed of 26 knots, well beyond that of all but the fastest British and French battleships. She also carried her own catapult-launched scout plane to help her locate victims. Shortly after war was declared in September 1939, the Graf Spee was assigned the classic raider mission of sinking enemy merchant vessels and disrupting trade. She was an immediate success, sinking 9 vessels over a 3-month period, and more importantly, spreading panic among the crews of Allied merchant ships.
Her general method was to launch an aircraft, scout the area, find a merchantman, come up upon them, order them to not radio, then open fire and sink them, and then put the prisoners and the survivors aboard one of her mother ships that would come into the area.
Faced with a serious disruption of their shipping routes, the British deployed 23 powerful warships to hunt down the notorious raider. The Graf Spee eluded her pursuers until December 13th, when she was spotted off the South American coast by 3 smaller British cruisers, Exeter, Ajax, and Achilles. Although the British vessels were faster than the Graf Spee, their 6 and 8-inch guns were no match for the Germans' 11-inch firepower. So the British commander, Commodore Henry Harwood, wisely split his force and attacked the Graf Spee from both sides, making it impossible for her to concentrate all her fire in a single direction. Though the British ships took a terrible pounding, they inflicted enough damage to force the wounded German vessel to flee to the nearby neutral port of Montevideo, Uruguay. As the battered British cruisers waited outside the harbor, a high-level battle of wits began. The British Admiralty sent out phony radio messages indicating that a powerful force of larger British warships had arrived to reinforce their trio of cruisers. The ruse worked. The Graf Spee's captain, Hans Langsdorff, was convinced that he was trapped by an overwhelming enemy squadron. Knowing that international law would force him to leave Montevideo within 72 hours, Langsdorff chose to save his crew and blow up his own ship, rather than sailing into the jaws of what he believed would be certain destruction. When he later found out that he had been tricked, the disgraced German officer committed suicide.